don't even want to look at the others?
Nope.
Really?
That's me. When I find something that I like, I just go for it. I just don't dilly-dally.
All right. Well,
Because then you get like that whole paralysis by analysis
all
thing.
right, I like it.
It's not me.
I like that in you. Wayne Lewis, welcome to the Carrie Croft Show.
Thanks for having me.
No, more so thanks for being here. I mean, look at you. You have a face for TV, don't you?
You know, I've never been told that.
I don't believe it.
I swear to God, no.
You're real handsome.
Thank you.
You look like you might be young. You look younger than maybe what you are.
I owe that to my mother. So good genes.
Good genes?
Yeah, I try to take care of myself as well. I have a.
Do you spray tan?
I have a moisturizer. No, I do not spray
You
tan.
have a good like tan hue going on.
I do actually tan in a bed during the winter only, just to kind of get that vitamin D.
My husband has been known to do that, although he would kill me if I, I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to say it out loud. He's done
Don't
that.
even get me started on the whole sun and all that kind of stuff. So
Because it's not good for you to go in the tanning bed. I used to do it a lot when I was in high school, but it's addicting.
well, look, I'll go on vacation and sit out in the sun for
I know. I try
8 hours.
I try to stay away. So we just met. We've had one FaceTime interaction, right? So we don't know each other well. Although there are certain humans where I'm like, okay, there's sort of a kindred spirit or a vibage going on. And when we were FaceTiming, I'm like, I really like this guy. But the one thread that I was thinking about with you that I really liked is you seem to be someone who's like, watch me. Like, you don't think I can do this? Try me. Like you tell me I'm not able to do something, try me. And you were telling me a story about how you actually started your first company. And I think that's a good way to kind of enter into this, where the university was like, and you're like, wait, I'm just going to like do my thing. Right. So let's start with that, because that really had me captivated. And I think that's a good way to sort of set the stage.
Okay, so let me open up the Wayback Machine. This is about 1990. It was 1996.
Fourscore.
Right. 96. I'm from upstate New York, and I always wanted to kind of try the South out. So I figure I'm going to, go. That's a funny story unto itself. It was literally, I was playing college and baseball at the baseball house where you're drunk as shit. And it was literally a dart on a wall against a wall map that led me to LSU.
Really?
Yeah, it was so random. I've never even been to Louisiana. That next week I applied there, faxed. This is how old this is. Fax in your application. I got in and ended up loading my car up 2 months later and going down there in August. So, yeah, so I'm at LSU. I was very involved in campus stuff, and long story short, I got misquoted by the school newspaper, and they didn't take like recorded notes and stuff like that, just handwritten stuff. They wouldn't retract it, and this was like right before break. And I said to myself, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to make my own newspaper. And literally from maybe the first week of December to the second week of January, I started to plot how I was going to launch this college newspaper, which I had taken like one journalism class at the time. And I did have a sales background, though. I did know how to sell, and I'm like, if I can sell ads, I can make this work. And in January, I came out, and it was one of the first full-color college newspapers in the country. It was not common back then. This was when the USA Today was a big deal, and it was full-color. And I didn't have anybody there to tell me, you can't do that. And so I think part of the charm of getting in business when you don't know what the fuck you're doing is you can break rules. Now, I will say that there's another edge to that blade as well that can cut you not knowing what you're doing too. So, and we can probably get into some of those stories later. But that was my first business, and I was in school full time, and it was my launch into the publishing world. Who knew? I was going to college to be an attorney. That was the plan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah, constitutional law. That's what I wanted. Yeah.
So what's interesting, my vibe on you is like you're very decisive. And like you could be impulsive, maybe a little.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would probably have kicked ass as an attorney too, because you're like a dog with a bone. Like you're not gonna let go, right? So either way, I think you would have been successful. So then, what leads you then to Columbus?
So I met my ex-wife at LSU. She was a tennis player there on scholarship from UA, and so we met, fell in love, all the things, and she graduated and came home. And at that time, my business had been running now for, maybe like 8 years or something like that. And it was running well. And I thought, well, let's go try to recreate what I did here at Ohio State. And so I just packed up. I'd never been to Columbus and came up here, didn't know anybody, and started what became U Weekly, a weekly college paper there. And then that rolled into 6 and 4 and Stock and Barrel and Restaurant Week and all the things. So
okay, lots of lots of parking that we need to do here.
I don't think you have enough time on this show for all the things I've done.
Starting a paper at Ohio State, doing anything at Ohio State, is not easy.
No.
And so when you came here, I'm sure you were met with some issues. So
yeah, you could call them that.
Yeah. So what exactly was that like, trying to come to the Ohio State University and say, oh, I'm going to pop up an alternative paper here. Never been here before, but hey.
So I had to do my own battles, even as a student back at LSU. I mean, they didn't like the fact that we could say whatever we wanted. We didn't have a faculty instructor on board to kind of censor us, frankly, and we were uncensored. And I mean, we ended up bankrupting the college newspaper after like a couple of years, and with all their student fees and everything. I mean, it was very successful. And so when I came here, I knew that the university was going to be tough. So I tried to play by their rules, go meet the right people. And here's the funny thing. We got an approval. Yeah, go ahead and distribute. They gave us spots. We could put our racks. The week before we were to publish our first edition, we got a letter in the mail. I got a letter in the mail that said, yeah, we're rescinding that decision. No, we're not going to let you do that. So I called the guy who I had met with, the head of facility services or something, not to bore you, and I sat down with him and I said, here's what's going to happen. If you don't let me put my racks where you already agreed upon, which I've already paid for, ordered, okay, it's custom racks, I'm going to put racks on the public sidewalks, and I'm going to paint them hot pink. I'm going to put them every 50 fucking feet. So you either get me as a good custodian of the premises, and we'll keep everything clean, and we'll play by your rules as you set them out, or I'm going to be a maverick, and I'm going to do things really differently, and you're not going to like it. Long story short, they backed down. Here I am, some like young punk. But what I've learned in business is that, you have to be persistent. You have to be a bulldog at times. And sometimes, you have to be the other thing. You have to be, kid gloves and soft and tender and all those fun things. So
that probably was a learned skill for you. The soft and tender.
Yeah, that took a while.
The
for
rounding
sure.
off the edges.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was definitely like, get the F out of my way when I was younger, for sure, because growing up, it was, basically only child, and I had to fend for myself. So I have not gone to therapy, but I've talked enough with myself over drinks like this. And I've kind of figured out, like, how did I become like that? And more importantly, like, what else do I have to work on? And, so being introspective, I think, is one of the great things about getting older, is that you actually have the mental bandwidth to kind of start to focus on yourself in that way. So yeah, it doesn't all suck getting older.
So how long were you married to your first
wife? We were together like 3 years. We were married for a couple years, and then got divorced, and then stayed here.
So I'm trying to figure out. My head always goes in real.
Boy.
What the hell was it like being married to you when you were that age?
Well, I was always busy. I was working, and I was just busy.
Your priorities were elsewhere.
I was a workaholic. I mean, I would work, I golfed 4 or 5 days a week. I went out at night. I worked all day. I was in school part-time, did all the things. So
she's like, I can't do this.
Well,
right?
she was in school at the time, right? So when we started dating, she was in college, and I had the newspaper. And then when she graduated and moved up here, she joined her parents' company. And I had just started, actually, Ohio State, but I also had a paper at Kentucky. I was getting ready to launch one in Austin, the college papers. So, yeah, I was jetting around, and not around a ton.
What was your differentiating factor, I guess, with your paper? Were you trying to come up with, like, were you cooler and edgier, or did you have something different going on?
Yeah, from a readership standpoint, we were all about fun and entertainment. And, most school papers are, AP wire copy. They're training to be quote-unquote journalists. We were training to be inside edition. And so we made it fun for students. We had, went to the bars and took photos and then put them in the paper, and people would be like, am I in the paper this week? And we were very advertiser friendly as well. We ran as a business, not as a lab experiment at the university. So
yeah,
that's why we were so successful.
Okay, so then the next stepping stone after Ohio State, business-wise.
Yeah. So Ohio State's going really well. And I had a new business partner at the time who actually used to be a client of mine in Baton Rouge and wanted out of the restaurant business and said, I know how much I'm paying for advertising. What's your business like? So he invested some money, moved up here, and the plan was to start college newspapers all across the country. And we had some opportunities to do that, but we just didn't like them. We really loved Columbus, though. Columbus was really, you have to go back. This is like 2007, maybe 2008. And Columbus was really starting to kind of hit a whole new gear. And there were a lot of magazines and newspapers. I mean, my gosh, there were The Other Paper, a weekly, The Alive, a weekly, Suburban Newspaper, CMH Magazine, C Magazine, C Busser Magazine. And there was actually a lawsuit between two of the C magazines. And while they were distracted, I said, you know what, this is our moment. Let's start 614 Magazine. And the idea was to go up market. And so when we launched in 2009, this was kind of during the midst of that kind of, I don't know, we'd call it a crash or recession, whatnot, but it was the real estate kind of hit. And I don't remember who said it. It was some business leader that said, look, when things are going bad in the market, go upscale. Don't try to go to the lowest common denominator. So we're like, you know what, let's just do this. And invested a lot of money, a lot of time setting up a distribution network all over the city. I mean, it was really a big swing for us. So we did that, and it found success fairly early on. Then we started Restaurant Week and Stock and Barrel and all the things just kind of snowball, And so it's been fun. I like starting new things. I'm not a business buyer. I have bought a few businesses, but that does not get me excited about waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
I love starting new things from scratch. Just that blank canvas. It's awesome.
So you're the guy, you're like me, because I want to start shit. And then I'm like, the minutia, when it gets to a certain point, I'm kind of like, ooh, I want to start something.
Yeah, definitely. That took me a while to learn the difference between being a founder and a CEO. They're very, very different roles. And it's rare, frankly, that people can do both really well. And so once I learned that, hey, I am much better dreaming and scheming than running the day-to-day, I was like, I got to find some great talent to keep these things going, so I can come up with new dreams and schemes.
Yeah. So in that mix with like 614 and Restaurant Week and all that, can you pull out some of the biggest highlights or biggest successes that you can look back on? You're like, wow, we did that.
Yeah. Launching, well, I would say even before this, just setting up a citywide distribution network. At one point pre-COVID, we had like almost 900 locations. And we had an independent delivery network of drivers to go fill these within 3 days every month. I mean, that was quite a feat, actually. And it was a lot of work. But then after that, launching Restaurant Week, believe it or not, it didn't exist here. And when we came up with the concept for Restaurant Week, I will just say a local organization, I don't even think they're around anymore, really pushed back against it. And they were restaurants. They didn't want a non-restaurant company being involved in Restaurant Week, which is really strange because every Restaurant Week across the country are all run by visitors bureaus or media companies, so they're not run by restaurants anyways. So we created Restaurant Week, and that was a great success for us. We love doing that because it lets us give back. We raise money, but I decided to do it in January and July for a very specific reason. We asked restaurants, when are your slowest times? We want to help. We don't want to, take advantage of when you're already busy. So that's been great. Many, many restaurants have their record weeks of the year during Restaurant Week, during what's the slow time for many. So very, very proud of that.
How did you do that? So where you just saw that in another market and you're like, we need to bring it here.
Yeah, New York City. So I think it started in the 60s in New York City. And in New York City, it's a huge deal there. And there you've got Michelin-starred restaurants giving 50% off. I mean, we can't get our restaurants to give 50% off here, which is fine. I understand. But what we had was an audience, right? And so we had kind of built this fledgling audience at 614. The magazine was our pickup rates were like 97, 98%. We're putting out I think when we started, 20,000 magazines. So they're consuming this page after page after page of what is there to do in Columbus. And so creating events was always kind of on our mind, that if we could be part of creating an event series. And the fact that they didn't have Restaurant Week was just nuts to me. So I trademarked the name. And so we spun that up and we went to restaurants and we said, hey, we're going to make this really easy for you. We're going to make the menus. You're going to pay us a fee. We're going to make the menus. We're going to do all the advertising. We're going to deliver the menus. It's turnkey, totally turnkey. We're going to take care of the donation out of our fees rather than you collecting a portion of which is a nightmare to do. And yeah, they loved it.
Did you make a ton of money doing that?
It's a good business for us. I mean, Restaurant Week does well for us, but it's more important, it does better for the restaurants. I mean, in business, I really don't believe every single corner of your business should be about trying to make the most money possible, because I think I just don't think that's good business.
No, it's not. And you can, like you said, there's different levers you can pull, you know, and there's different ways you can sort of have a more holistic approach. And I do like, and I've always thought that about Restaurant Week. I'm like, God, this is so great for these restaurants who they wouldn't be full right now, and they are, and it's so helpful to kind of inject some revenue to them.
Yeah, yeah. And we do other things like, our holiday cocktail competition, and we'll sell out like 250 tickets in like 10 minutes, and we'll have bars basically create all their cocktails and people vote. And so we love doing fun things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Any other highlights or things you can think of where you're like, we fucking did that?
Yeah. So when we started 614 Now, that was, I don't even know how many years ago that was. It was our digital daily, and the local media really did not like that, because essentially we were curating the news, rewriting it in our kind of format, which, Google News has been doing since day one.
Yeah.
But just doing that locally. And so we started out with that, and we had an email list of like, I think it was like 12,000 at the time, which is pretty good. And we sat down with a local media company about partnering, who had a different audience, and said, hey, we want to build this list really large, partner with us, you can share content. And they're like, nah, don't worry about it. And I'll never forget my current CEO, Lindsay, we walked out of that meeting and she goes, you know what? F them. I'm going to build that list to 100,000. That's where we wanted to go with it. And we've been to 100,000, but we found that like 90, where we are now, is just a better size, because it allows us to trim the non-openers regularly.
Yeah.
So
fuck those non-openers.
The non-openers, it's like, why did you subscribe in the first place? Oh, because we had a giveaway. Okay.
Yeah, we know. We're
but
on
yeah,
you.
so I just love being told no. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is something wrong with me?
No, one of my favorite books, and it's kind of funny that it is, it's a very short book, but I don't know if you remember Randy Pausch. This was like years ago. He was this great professor, and he ended up getting like stage 4, I think, pancreatic cancer, and Oprah had him on. And he before he passed away, he wrote this little book, and it was for his kids. And one of the quotes is like, the brick walls are there to show who wants it more. And that's why they're there. Yeah. And I always think of that. It's true. It's like I believe the universe has this like survival of the fittest for everything. And it's constantly weeding things out, because most people see a challenge or an obstacle and they have this physical negative reaction to it.
Yeah.
And those special people who sort of in their mind, they have this thing where it's like, I see it as a challenge, I feel a fire. Those people are going to be so far ahead. And that's how I've always been. You tell me no, or somebody doesn't even have to tell me no. I mean, I'm always an ask for forgiveness later person. Yeah. Like who am I waiting for permission for?
Yeah.
From. That's a whole nother conversation.
And I think that works for people like us. That type A, type B categorization, which I know they've gone a lot further now with all the INJs and all that kind of stuff. But, I think the type A personalities do see a wall, and rather than have fear take over, something else takes over. And although fear is always a part of it, I think that's the interesting I've kind of been introspecting about lately, about, what really fuels me, what powers me at the end of the day. Where does it come from? Why am I like that? Why am I saying, F you, I'm going to do it anyway? Where's that defiance come from? And it actually comes from fear.
Yeah.
It really does come from fear, that fear of letting yourself down, letting others down, that fear of failure. So I think fear is a very, very healthy thing when it's harnessed.
I totally agree. And when you're sitting on your couch being your own therapist, you have these thoughts, or you can take a drink.
Oh, hey, thanks for
Are you like
reminding
a fake drinker? Are you a real drinker?
me. No, if you ask my friends, I'm definitely not a fake drinker. I try to moderate. My latest thing, I'm sober curious like so many people now. And
We're clearly not that curious. We're a little curious, but not that curious. Not curious enough.
I try to not drink 2 days in a row. That's kind of my goal.
You know, it's baby steps.
It is baby steps. Yeah.
This is
How's
delicious.
the beer? Is it good? So that's made by our partners at Wolf's Ridge.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good at making beer. And so we wanted to partner with them as a brand extension, and it's their number one selling beer, and it's doing great. We love it.
See, Wolf's Ridge, this is what it would look like if you sponsored my show. God, this is some delicious beer. It tastes so good when it hits your lips. I like this can.
Thank you. I helped design it.
Did you know?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty 50-50 right brain, left brain, creative versus analytic. So that's what I think anyway. So
I feel like I might be the same.
yeah,
I love creating,
yeah,
but I'm very...
which causes a lot of conflicts because sometimes you'll sit down with this great idea and I'll sit down and I'll have some drinks and smoke a cigar and sit out on the deck and spend 2 or 3 hours coming up with a whole business plan. I'm talking a pro forma, the whole works. And that's my just creative side going. And the next day I'll get up and the other side of the brain will take over, look what I wrote and go, nah, that's not going to work.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, you need that, right?
Right,
But
right.
but then you also have to balance, which I am constantly doing.
Yeah.
Is that internal resistance or is that reality? Are you like, okay, this is a dumb idea. They
Right.
can't all be winners. Or is it that thing in your head that's like, it's not gonna work, but it's like,
Right.
it's always a sliding scale around here.
That's what makes life fun.
Yeah.
Is that constant internal struggle, provided you don't take yourself too seriously and realize, in the famous words of, was it Van Wilder, don't take it too seriously, we're not going to make it out alive.
No, we're not. And isn't it funny, the older you get, you look back and you're like, the shit that I worried about and thought about,
Yeah.
and now that I'm like a wise old owl, I'm like, damn, it doesn't matter. I'm just, as long as I'm having fun
An old owl.
and I
huh?
feel, I'm feeling aligned and I can have
Yeah.
balance. Like if I would have thought that 10 years ago, I'm
Yeah.
like on the grind, man.
Right.
What are you grinding for? Like when you're 90, those quotes, like, I will never wish that I was grinding more when I'm on my deathbed. I mean, it's true though.
Well, I have a new grind now, though. Food.
So talk to me about this. And how the hell did you get on Gordon Ramsay's show?
4,000 or 5,000 people apply to be on that show every year. I've been interested in cooking now since my LSU days. When I moved down there, it was like, it just flipped a switch in me, just the spices and the food. And I'm super passionate about food. Love it. And so I've been cooking and slowly getting better. Also a huge fan of everything Gordon Ramsay does. I've eaten at several of his restaurants, devoted watcher of his shows. That I thought, you know what, maybe I should try out to be on one of his shows. And so it was definitely not Hell's Kitchen. That's for professional chefs. So MasterChef was perfect, one of my favorite shows. And I went to go online and apply, and the application never went live. This is like 2 years ago. And then I was on Reddit. I do searches like, when is it going to be live? When is it going to be live? And I'm like cooking every day. I'm practicing. And it was leaked that, they're doing a back to win season of former contestants. And I was like so bummed. But then I was like, I have a whole nother year to practice. And so I did. And the next year came around. It was about September. And I remember them on Instagram like, hey, applications are now live. I went, I filled the whole thing out. It was this crazy long application. It's really insane. Turned out to be, you're the first inch of the pool that was 6 feet deep in getting on the show. It was incredible. And then I got, that night, someone on Instagram reached out, a producer person saying, hey, you should try out. And I'm like, this is fake. I didn't think it was real at all. And then I looked them up. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So I already did. Long story short, I got a phone call the next day and they're like, can you be on a 30-minute phone call? Yes. Did the phone call. We loved you. Can you do an hour Zoom with the senior producer like next week? I'm like, yes. And then so I show up on the Zoom call and I'm not dressed like this. I'm wearing a red it was like a 614 t-shirt. And I had a hat on, like a trucker style hat that said barbecue on it, because barbecue is my real cooking passion. And I kind of wanted, to kind of represent that on the show a little bit. And the guy looks at me and he goes, take the hat off. I'm like, okay. He's like, all right, well, you have hair. He's like, yeah, you're not going to go with that look. So we have this whole hour-long conversation. We talk about business. We talk about all these things. And then you don't hear anything for like 2 weeks. And it was just, and then all of a sudden you hear something that's like, go make us 8 videos. Making mayonnaise, making this sauce, making this, frying eggs, doing this. Show us your cooking skills. Because the way they used to do it is you would bring a finished dish to a place somewhere in the country, like American Idol auditions. And so they don't do it since COVID. They don't do it that way anymore. It's all online and digital. Long story short, I had to make probably 20, 25 different videos for them. And I didn't find out until like December 15th. So this is like all the way from September through December. It's like, am I in? Oh, congratulations. You've made it to the next stage of casting. That's all they would ever tell you. And so, yeah, I ended up getting invited out to LA around with, I think it was like 90 people were invited actually to go to LA. You're still not on the show. And so you fly out to LA and they do some interviews with you. You cook your signature dish once to make sure that you can actually cook it in 45 minutes in a little bitty test kitchen. And then one day they're like, everyone pack your bags, be sitting next to your phone at 8 a.m. We'll call you and let you know what's next. So your bags are packed. I mean, it was they made it as stressful as possible, I think, to figure out who's really going to stick this through, because the process takes almost like 2 months to film the show. And I'll never forget, I had my bag packed. I have this iconic photo, it's iconic to me anyway, of the bag sitting there against the door. And I remember posting it one day going like, if you know, you know, that feeling. They call you down and they're like, go to the left, go to that ballroom. And some people go to the right ballroom. You go into the ballroom, you didn't know if you were the going home group or the staying group. And then I was about the 20th person in there. I looked around at a couple other people. I'm like, we're staying. Oh yeah, we're staying. I could just tell. And you had negative people who are like, I don't know. I think I'm like, no. Look, the best people are here, 100%. Because we were there for we had to quarantine for a week, so we got to actually get to know each other and build this trauma bond with people from all across the country. And then they cut it down to 40, and the 40 people got to compete for 20 aprons. And yeah, and that was the process. That's the clean of the process. But background checks and just psychological exams, it was nuts.
But you were wanting this big time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to do it not to have some TV career or anything like that.
No, you just
I'm a fan of the show, cooking competitions in general, and I really wanted to test my cooking skills. I mean, I'm a competitive guy, and how else do you kind of test your cooking skills as a home cook? You go on a cooking show.
I love you just decide something. You're like, okay, I'm just going to go be on the show. And
well, I mean, look, I was very fortunate. There are plenty of good-looking, well-spoken, talented cooks. I mean, there were lots of them. So, who knows why they pick you other than you fill a casting bucket. And for me, it's like there's, middle-aged, Midwestern business guy. And so they made me cook in a suit. So for my audition, if you go back and look at the audition episode, I actually had a suit coat and like something like this on. I'm like, you're going to make me cook in that? They're like, well, we'd really like you to. And when they say it like that, it's like, okay, I'll wear it.
Wow.
As long as I don't have to wear it the rest of the season. So
okay, so the outcome of the show was?
Yeah, so I I made it to 5th place, the semifinals. So, that was a big deal for me because they always ask you, what's your biggest fear coming on this show? And for me, it was like, I don't want to go home first. I don't want to go all this way, get my apron in the first episode, your food wasn't good enough. And of course, the psychologist is like, that's everyone's fear. I'm like, yeah, but it's really my fear. I just didn't want to embarrass myself, right, on national TV. So once I got that far, my next goal was I want to make the top 10. And once I made the top 10, my next goal is I want to do the Hell's Kitchen takeover. Well, it's the restaurant takeover. It's an iconic part of the show that happens at the end of every season. There's like 6 people left. And I made it to that, and I was team captain and actually got to cook in Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen restaurant in Southern California. And as it turned out, I didn't win, but I won more on that show than any other contestant, even the people who won. I won every team challenge. I won more individual challenges, more group challenges. So I did really well. I was really proud of myself. And at the end of the day, winning on reality TV is as much about storyline as it is about cooking. And maybe there were just some better storylines is what I like to tell myself anyways. But I was as good a cook as anyone there. So, but very happy for the people, for the guy that won, Grant. He was awesome.
So is Gordon Ramsay, did you get a chance to like bond with him? Or is
yeah,
he like in and out? Like, is he that way all the time? Or is he like, what's his story?
Yeah. Oh, we, did happy hour with him every day. I'm kidding. I have to get a drink for that lie.
We did happy hour with, I'm sure it was kind of contained. Like, did he come in and out or like?
Yeah, that guy, he's the busiest guy in TV. I don't know how many shows he's got and restaurants. It's unbelievable. He's got this, it's strange because people always ask me, what is Gordon Ramsay like? On one hand, he's the most intense person I've ever met in my life. He's like so in the moment, but he's looking around and he's seeing everything that's happening everywhere. Simultaneously, he's thinking about his other 20 businesses. He's hyper, but yet there and focused.
Macro and micro.
Yeah, it's a very strange, you don't see that often at all. I've never met anybody like him, I'll tell you that. He's a very impressive man.
You think you could take him down in an alley fight?
No, he's like 6'1", he's 6'2", big, he's in shape. No, he's a fit guy.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. All the judges were great. But I mean, I was there for almost 2 months, so I got to cook for him, dozens and dozens of time and get to talk with him off camera a bit. So yeah.
So you're remarried.
Mm-hmm.
What did your wife say? Was she like, go, be free?
Yeah, she's my best cheerleader for sure.
What's her name?
Dana.
Dana. Hi, Dana. Shout out to Dana.
Hi, Dana.
I bet Dana's hot too.
Yeah, Dana's very hot.
She is, isn't she?
Interesting story about Dana. So I'm from Rochester, New York originally. So I come up here, get divorced, and I'm on Match.com. And there's this Dana who's also from Rochester, New York, here in Columbus. I'm like, that's odd. And she's a little bit younger than me.
Like how much younger?
10 years to be exact.
Okay, yeah, let's a little bit younger.
And so, yeah, we met and we're from the same hometown. And then
that had to be comforting.
Yeah, so I think it was, but just small world. And so we met up and we've been together now married for 10, together almost 15 years. But she was a huge proponent of me kind of living my dreams out. So, yeah.
So what's she like?
She's my number one taste tester. She doesn't like all foods a lot. So she's actually a really good, she's honest with me as a taste tester. And that's super important, not just in that, but
yeah,
I really value that. So it's like, ooh, you're a great wife and a good member of staff. So
perfect.
It works out well. Yeah.
What would she say about you? Like, what drives her crazy about you? What's an annoying quality that you have?
Probably overfeeding her.
I bet that would be really like, on one hand, you're like, I love that he's cooking for me, but on the other hand, you're like, he's cooking for me again.
Yeah. Like if you literally, my Instagram post from last night was, I made schnitzel. Like
I saw it. Oh no, I saw it.
A whole plate. And
I liked it. I liked it. I loved it.
She's like, I can't eat all this. She's like, you're feeding me like I'm a man. I'm like, yeah, but I'm sorry. I don't know.
But I want to eat, and I don't want to eat alone.
I want you to eat. Yeah, I think that's part of my generational thing. Like, we're gonna feed you, and you got to eat your whole plate, like the clean plater effect that we had. So, but yeah, I'm sure I drive her nuts in other ways. But
well, yeah, you're not gonna get out of it with that. What's a real one? Like, what are you? Are you messy? Do you like? Is there something about your fighting style? What's a common recurring thing where she's like, again?
We don't fight.
We all have them. You never fight.
We don't fight
ever.
No, we don't fight. No, maybe one fight in 15 years or something like that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no.
You should write a marriage book.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Will you just let me stick to one hobby at a time, please?
Well, I'm going to say, yeah. I mean, I don't want to. So there's not one.
I mean, I can be impulsive, but it's measured now with my age. So I love taking risk, but tactical risk. Yeah. So
calculated.
Yeah, calculated risk. Other than that, I mean,
Dana, text me or actually listen, DM me. DM me and tell me the real story, okay?
I'd love to know. I don't know.
I got you. I got you, girl.
I mean, look, we sit around and watch trashy reality TV together. All the Love is Blind, Married at First Sight. We watch all of that stuff.
Do you watch Real Housewives?
I don't watch that one. I can't because it's, I don't know. I kind of need the male component to.
Got it.
I feel like we watch The Bachelor. I shouldn't say that, but I don't watch much TV. but the TV I watch is the worst of the TV.
No, it's so
And so
good.
we sit around, and it's, she was a counselor. She used to be a family counselor. So like we basically sit there and, are counseling and like judging these people like they're psychotherapists. So it's fun. So
Yeah.
no, it's a good vibe.
I like it. Okay, let's jump.
Okay.
I want to go back over to 614.
Yep.
So are you actively involved? Like, where are you?
Yeah, so I'm the president of the company, and basically I'm there to help think about the future of the company and work with the CEO to execute on some of that stuff. But I don't run the day-to-day. I have an incredible person, Lindsay Press. She's been with me since almost day one of 614, climbing the ranks from marketing to operations to now CEO, and she's awesome.
Does anybody want to give me like a, I could do like a little column, like a little video type column, or I could write. You guys want to hire me to do anything?
Well, we have this like huge platform of like hundreds of thousands. You could.
Do you see the talent sitting in front of you? The raw,
100%.
The raw, unfiltered talent.
We're gonna talk.
Oh my God! Can somebody make the connection here? Somebody help me! No, in all seriousness. So okay, so you've got people. You've built the team to execute the dream. The cooking feels like the major passion of the moment. Do you think you have bigger dreams for the cooking? Or do you think you're just going to go move on to something else and have another passion?
Oh, no. Look, at my age, I only have time to really follow one new passion, and I'm all in on cooking. I mean, I cook pretty much at like every single day. I'm doing pop-up dinners. I've got catering gigs coming up. I've got an appearance thing I just booked with a local large grocery store chain. You'll be seeing me out and about doing that. So like I'm going to be doing a lot more cooking. I'm going to be doing a local cooking show on our 614 TV network that's going to be launched here before you know it.
What's it called?
The name of the show?
Yeah.
At Home Chef.
I'll be watching that.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have fun and basically in short segments because, people's attention spans are a little bit shorter now than they used to be. Really show people how to make great food in a short amount of time. Hence the name 60-Minute Chef. That's why my name is 60-Minute Chef, because I can take things that might take 2 or 3 hours and make entire meals multi-course in under an hour. And I can show you how to do that.
That's actually very helpful.
Oh, good.
It is, because that to me, and I know a lot of people that I run with, these like amazing Instagrams and like this culinary, and my friend Jamie is a great cook, but she loves to do it. Like she'll spend a whole day on a weekend. And she has it's like a therapeutic for her. But for people like me, who I get so overwhelmed with it, and it's not necessarily my thing, if you can show me how to do something like that and know that it's like 60 minutes or less, that's very compelling.
Yeah, in the show, it's kind of a take on MasterChef because we had 60 minutes to make our meals. But I was always, I would say, getting better at being a very organized cook. That's the secret, is really to be organized. It's called mise en place, which is a beautiful French word, which means everything in its place. And before you start cooking, you prep all of your ingredients so you can just do, go. So it's, a skill you learn in business that translates to the kitchen. There's a lot of corollaries between cooking and business, I found. And so the business stuff really helped me on the TV show, and also managing stress, managing the unknown, what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know. They slip a piece of paper under your door at 9 p.m. because you just got back at 8:30. Here's what to wear. Be ready at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. And they load you in a bus and you're going somewhere you don't know. And so that's that life. And so you have to be comfortable working in that unknown, and starting new businesses is that. It's the unknown. And I love it. I do.
So what would your advice be, though, to someone out there who's listening to you, and they may not have the same, set of balls that you have, but they want to start something, and or someone who's already started and they're in the throes of it?
Yeah.
Like, what is your your best advice to someone who's in the throes of business?
Now, keep in mind, this advice is free, so it's worth what you're paying for it. But my first rule, and this is even when you're young, don't risk that which you can't afford to lose. And it's usually used in gambling sense, right? But the one thing that you have when you're young is time. Use your time, make your bones, grind away, put the hours in, because that's how you get great at things. There's the 10,000 hour rule, Malcolm Gladwell, lots of people know it. And there's a lot of truth to that. And it doesn't mean you have to be world class at something and put 10,000 whole hours in. But my God, if you put in 3,000 or 4,000 hours in your specific thing, you might be really, really good at it in your specific area. So Put the time in. When you get older, it's about investing resources and money to take risk, right? Make mistakes. Just don't make fatal ones. Cut yourself, break a leg, so to speak. But just don't make fatal mistakes. And sometimes you don't know those fatal mistakes are going to be. We can all be hit by the proverbial bus in business and in life. So, but who cares? I mean, like I said before, you're not going to get out alive. Have fun, take chances, but whatever you do, be passionate about what you're doing, because that's the only thing that's really going to fuel you through the bad times, through the tough times. You have to have that passion. And I know everybody who's ever read a business book or listened to a podcast has heard these words, but you're hearing them from me too, because it's the truth. There's not a lot of truths in business, but boy, if you're not passionate, it's really hard to be successful long term. So that's my advice.
It's so true. There's one, do what you love and let it kill you. And
well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, I actually have it hanging in my office at home. It's one of the most, whoever said that, like, that is exactly how, like, you do something and mean it. Do it with passion and obviously not let it kill you, literally, right. But it's just give it everything.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I have one more question before we end this amazing conversation. Okay. Can we be friends?
Okay.
Will you accept this rose?
I'm actually shocked there's not a rose sitting here.
Well, I didn't realize you were a reality TV junkie.
Yes.
I didn't know that about you, because I could go on a whole tangent.
And so this isn't really a plug, but maybe if the right people watch this, they'll see this. You know what I love about ABC, particularly the Bachelor franchise, is that they reuse their contestants from one show onto other shows, from Dancing with the Stars to Bachelor in Paradise. Fox doesn't do that with MasterChef, and they should. So I've applied to be on Next Level Chef, which is Gordon's other show, which has amateurs and professionals competing. And so I've applied to be, but they've never cross-pollinated from one Gordon show to another with the contestants.
Don't you think they should? Because it creates consistency.
Well, 100%. I mean, look, we got like 5 million odd viewers on my show that just aired this summer. I have my fans, I have my detractors. Yep. At least people care one way or another. I made it far, and I have something left to prove, because if you go online, a lot of people will tell you they thought I should have been in the finale, that I got robbed being in the finale. So I have something to prove. It's a great storyline.
Yeah.
And I think I can kick some of those pros' asses.
I think you probably could.
Yeah.
It's like, hello.
I know.
Like, it's like basic common sense to let people get emotionally connected and then show them again.
Right.
Like, come on,
it works for ABC so well.
Yeah.
Bachelor
in Paradise.
If you're watching, Gordon, I know you don't do the casting. But,
absolutely. Okay, well, this has just been a treat.
It was fun,
to say the least, at a minimum.
I enjoyed it.
So we are friends now officially, or are you just going to...
We're friends.
Are you going to...
Christmas list friends.
Abso-freaking-lutely. And if you're still out there following your girl, follow me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, keep moving, baby.